Good morning. I have so much to catch you up on. And part of it is like, I had the funniest night last night. And I don't mean like funny, haha. I mean funny, weird. So I made a friend at my nail salon. And she's cool. She was a good time at the nail salon. We made great conversation. There was a lot of laughing. One of those like, oh my goodness, are you my vibe type of meetups. And that was about a month ago. Work is crazy, life is crazy. And yesterday, she was like, oh my gosh, do you want to meet me for a little happy hour drink? There's a spot that just expanded their happy hour to Saturdays around, I think it was 4:30 or something. From like 4:30 to 6, there's this cute little new spot that has expanded their happy hour. And I was like, yeah, that could be cute. That could be a good time. Let's do that. So we meet up there. And we're talking, we're chatting. Mind you, this is our first like real hangout. So a lot of the conversation is like, are you dating? How is work? What is life? What are your hobbies? What do you do for fun? Those are the conversations we're having. I don't really drink. The last time I drank, I think, was last year around my birthday. So a year ago. And so I have like one tiny little daiquiri. And she has 3 daiquiris. She just got exactly what I got. Well, we hit a point, mind you, at that point, we've been hanging out, we had been chatting for quite a while, and it hits 8 o'clock. We had gotten there at like 5:45 just to hit the end of happy hour, hung out until like 8. Good timing, good vibe, good time. Like that's a lot of time spent with a stranger. Once 8 hits, she's like, hey, I kind of want to run home, freshen up. And do you want to like go out and get silly? Those are the words she used. Go out and get silly. And so then in my head, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm not prepared for this. We're going to get silly. I need to wax my butthole because I plan to do a split on a tabletop and I don't want anybody to see bush. You know what I'm saying? Like that's where my mind is at. And because she said, get silly. And I told her, I was like, hey, if we're going to do that, I'm running through the mental checklist. I need to run out, buy a wax kit for my cootie cane. And then I need to get an outfit so that waxed cootie cane can be out. And then I need to come home, be a mother to my son, walk him around so that he's tired. He stretched his legs. He's got out his last potty so that I can be out until like an unreasonable amount of time. And I also need time to do a yoga flow just to make sure I don't twinge any muscles tonight because I plan to throw my entire body in a circle. And so that's where I'm at. But, you know, we're girls. So I was like, cool. I've got some running around to do and then meet up at your spot to like get ready, beat our faces, get cute. And she was like, oh, sure. And she looked confused. And so then I was like, but before I go, what are you wearing? Now that I look back, this moment right here was the make or break of the what are you wearing? Because what she said, she was like, wear whatever you want. And she was like, we're going to have a good time. She was just like, wear whatever you want as long as you're comfortable. So in my head, she said, as long as you're comfortable, because she also will be doing backflips. And she doesn't want me to wear something to where I can't do a backflip. Cool. I've heard you. I really do this shit for real. Like you can't take the streets out you feel what I'm saying? So I was like, oh, don't you worry about me. I'm gonna be comfortable. So I was like, I was running around to do. I sprinted. You know where I went to get an outfit? Hustlers. That's what I'm on. I bought one of them little mesh type joints. And so then I sprint to Hustlers across town. I'm blasting on repeat My Type by Saweetie, Tia Tamara by Doja Cat, and 1-2 Step by Sierra. That's what I've got playing. That's the energy I'm on at that point. I'm whipping and driving it to get to Hustlers. She calls me. at 9:15. 9:15. And she goes, "Hey, girly pop, I'm getting in an Uber to head to the bar." At 9:15, that's when I had to stop. I had to check in. And I told her, "Where are you going at 9:15? Because my booty cheeks are out. And booty cheek out hours, the sun needs to be been done and set. Like, at this point, I'm wanting to run on CPT. I'm not getting anywhere until midnight. That, like, it doesn't make sense outside of that." And she goes, "Oh my goodness, girl. No, I want to go somewhere and have a martini and some fries." And then I said, "So what did you mean by the phrase get silly?" Because let me tell you, a 90s fave started playing in the back of my head when you said get silly. And she said, "Oh, like drink 1 or 2 martinis, have some french fries, and maybe get into some funny conversations at the bar with some strangers." Getting to some funny conversations with some strangers? Get into some funny conversations with some strangers? I'm trying to get belligerent. I'm trying to get belligerent and possibly find my future baby daddy in like a messy kind of way. You know what I'm saying? That's the energy I'm on. I want to possibly have a nip slip tonight. And you want to, because mind you, I don't necessarily need to be on this energy all the time. I don't. But once I've played Tia Tamara by Doja Cat for the 4th time, I'm up here. And so she was like, "Well, I don't know, like I invited a friend out." And I was like, "Okay, now that we're here, what are you wearing?" And she said, "Oh, like a cute little silk skirt and a blouse." A blouse? Do you have to go into the office? I was gonna be booty bone naked. So I respectfully told her, "Hey, the energy that I'm on right now, I need to take a long, warm shower and get into the bed." Because we are not on the same page at all. And you know what's so crazy? For some reason, I got the worst sleep of my life last night. Worst sleep ever. And I feel so hazy right now. I feel like I went out all night. She texted me at 11:30 and said, "Headed back home. I hope you had a good night." You just got home at 11:30? Oh yeah, no, I would have been disappointed. 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 So that's the energy I'm on right now. I don't know what it is because I didn't go out. I think it was just like the chaos, the energy I brought myself up to, the quick crash, whatever it is. My night was not restful. It wasn't. It wasn't restful at all. All that said, thank you for checking in with me. I need to show you some bugs. Thank you for that. Am I the problem? I'm over here really like, it's so hard to make friends in Austin. Meanwhile, I'm like, I don't even want to come out anymore. I'm going to bed. Whatever. She will be so good for like a little happy hour friend. She would be an amazing brunch friend, and she's an amazing coffee friend. She is not a get silly friend, because my get silly and her get silly are 2 very different things. But back to the books I want to talk about. Let me move this camera around and we're gonna sit down at the island and chat. All right, I have some books that I want to show you before we get into reading today. And one thing I pretty sure I say all the time is I don't buy many books. A lot of the times when I buy a book, it's because I've already read it before, or I'm using it in a way that I need to annotate it. So if I'm doing certain videos, I will buy a book because I want to annotate it. Or books that I've read the author before and I know I'm going to want to annotate or do something with it. So I don't usually purchase books. And it's why I don't often do like book hauls with what I've purchased. But this stack of books is the past 3 months. This is how many books I buy in about 3 months. And I thought I would share it with you. I have some nonfiction in here. I have a little bit of everything in here. Well, not really everything. I have several different genres in here, and I'm really excited. When I purchase a book, I don't know when or if you'll see it on the channel. A lot of books that I purchase them for like a very personal reading experience. So there's some books that you sometimes don't hear about, and I'm sorry, I love you so much, but there's some books that I'm reading and they speak to me in a way where I don't know how to speak to them on the channel because it's such a personal thing that I'm working through, and some conversations I'm just not in the space to share on YouTube. So if I'm reading something to speak to me or any of my like traumas or problems or even like my dreams or certain things that I hold so dear, I may not share them. So, but I think all of these I will talk about one day. There's no rush when I buy them. That's another thing. I purchase certain books that I don't want to feel rushed about, and a lot of the times that is my nonfiction, because I work so slowly through nonfiction. That reminds me, there's a book that I kind of want to just chat about for a second. Since we're sitting here catching up, let me just catch you up on everything that's going on with my reading life right now. Speaking of nonfiction. Now, first book that I got was The Employees by Olga Ravin. This was in a wrap-up. I'll link it in the description box and I'll put a card up. I think it goes over here. I already spoke about this book, but it was a read. I read library books. I enjoyed this so much, and it is the kind of book that I could see myself just sort of going back to. And one thing that made me purchase it was the form of it. That feeling of it being an HR report really sat with me in like the best kind of way. I had to have it. I think it's such a unique little read due to the form of it all. And I had enjoyed it so much that I just wanted to have it again. The next book I have is Real Life by Brandon Taylor. Now, I'm working on a video. I'm reading a few things for it. And I originally got this from the library on Libby. And I needed this one in a physical copy. I needed to take my time with this one because even listening to Libby on a slower speed, because usually I listen at 2 times speed, even listening to it on 1.5, I just felt like I wasn't giving the words the time and respect that they deserved. So I bought it. All I can say is that this book is such a harrowing and intimate read that I do think it's the kind of book where I need to be able to like read a page and then sit with that page and then reread that page. And in the audiobook experiences, taking in reading in that way is difficult. So I just needed to take my reading into a different pace, a different intention, I think. So that's this one. Then my bookstore had an event where they had an author come through. He's an author, he's a poet, but he's currently teaching at UT Austin right now. And he came in and did a poetry reading of Best Barbarians. This is Best Barbarians by Roger Reeves. And when I tell you, the couple of pieces he read felt like a broken glass, and all of the sharpest edges were thrown into poetry. There is an unforgiving bluntness that comes with Roger Reeves that I think is just so good. He is a Black professor, and I believe he said that this collection, and I believe he worded it as this collection was built to toe that line between the apocalypses of humanity and rapture, and these discussions of familial and erotic love and loss and family and loss and racism and climate change. So this book, him reading it and sitting there, it's one of those reads that just feels sharp. It feels pointy. It feels like it could be painful in the way that it doesn't hold back. That reading was amazing. So because of that reading, his other books were set out, and I got his first collection called King Me. And this one says that this is a gathering of the fragments of American identity, making each poem a song of beauty and horror. And this one just works through harrowing events. And it says here that it includes like Emmett Till within here, and it works as like that, a sort of timeline. I think this works as a progression of time. And this other one works more as like a connecting and interweaving of themes. Very up my alley. This seems like so important, so good to read. So another thing that he had, and I don't know much about this one, is he has an essay collection, and this is called Dark Days. They're called fugitive essays. And the way this was described, it was as like a testament. It is a testament to the lens in which you view a world that you want a future for, and a future that you don't know is possible. These are the framework for which he writes his poetry, I believe. So I think it would be interesting to sort of take the time with this and then work through these two chronologically. I would do the first collection and then his second collection. I'm excited for this. I haven't bought poetry in a while, and I'm really excited. A new poet, even. A lot of times when I go poetry shopping, I'm looking for my faves. I'm scouting down what Ada Limon has come out with. So a new poet, and having such a vast form of his thoughts is something I'm excited about. The next book I bought is called The Blueprint, which is this one was another bookstore event where they had books set in Texas. And this one is set in Texas, and it deals with the lives of enslaved concubines to United States politicians and planters. I think the interweaving of sex, the female body, politics, slavery, feminism, I think this is going to be such a good read. I don't hear many people talk about it. I'm excited about it. Then we have some nonfiction, and one of them is The Burning Earth. And this is eco-nonfiction. These next two books I purchased at the, what was it? It was Earth Day? I think they had an Earth Day event, and they had all of their books out that pertained to conversations that should be had around Earth Day. And this one is a discussion to the earth that is the cost of freedom. And it is this sociological and ecological study that weaves in anthropology to look at what freedom and that ethos has done in a history of our earth. Interesting. This one's heavy. This is a big one. And it's one of the more expensive nonfiction. So I'm excited about that. It means a lot of work has gone into it. Then I have a natural history of empty lots, which is a story of a man who buys an empty lot in Austin, Texas, and he's buying it with the intent of his family and of settling and of home. But it's this space that had once been industrialized, and he's watching nature sort of take this forgiving path to reestablish itself in a place that was otherwise not habitable to nature itself. I think this is going to be such a beautiful read. I think this is more introspective, reflective, memoir-esque, more of a musing rather than deep research. And then the last book that I have to talk about, I don't know when I'll ever get to this, because when I read from this author, it really rips at like my own personal wounds. It's not often that I read from this author and I'm not like looking at my hurt child in the mirror. That's what I feel like a lot of his books do to me. I'm sitting down and just watching my younger self cry. So that's how I feel reading Ocean Vuong. I actually have a signed copy because he came to Austin and did a reading of this book. I got some clips, of course, so I'm gonna insert some clips. The first clip that I'm gonna show you is him actually reading a couple of pages, and I just think it's so interesting how he's funny. Vuong is funny. There's a hilarity and a gentleness to Ocean Vuong. To feel like his words are tearing open stitches that I thought had healed over, for him to come in and be such a kind and gentle heart was so interesting to see and so inspiring to be a part of. So I have some clips. I have a few clips from the discussion and the conversation as well, but this first clip you're gonna see is just him reading from The Emperor of Gladness.
The first person Hai saw OD was somebody's dad. He was 12 and had gone over to this girl Jennifer Knoxley's house to do a project for history class. They were in the living room cutting construction paper when her father came in very quietly, like a ghost was wheeling him in, and sat down on a couch. After a while, his head tilted back and his mouth hung open, eyes rolled into their sockets. He looked like somebody had pressed pause at the peak of him laughing at the greatest joke he'd ever heard. This was the image imprinted on Hai's mind when he signed in at the New Hope Recovery Center. Every generation says this of itself, but these were indeed unprecedented times he lived in. A time before iPhones were everywhere and people still looked up as they walked, their heads filled with self-generated thoughts floating up from deep pits in the subconscious. A time when you still knocked on each other's doors, and if you wanted to talk to somebody, you had to call them on a landline, listen to their mother's breathing for a while, maybe the sound of her fixing a drink or shaving her legs, then meet up somewhere, one of you waiting about, shifting your feet and looking at clouds or trees or municipal architecture, cars passing, your dopamine levels higher for not having been depleted from blue light screens throughout the day. A time when the drug dealer on the corner would, out of boredom, start balancing on the chain link fence, the boy in him unable to help it, pants sagging from the effort, revealing his plaid boxers you can spot from the back window of your school bus. But then, slowly, 1 or 2 or 7 of your friends will find the pills, and they will flood their young brains with artificial joy, and you will join them, running through the woods by the power plant, laughing at the immense night, your head levitating a full foot over your shoulders. And their eventual deaths will not yet be used by politicians to gain traction with the base. It did not have a name, this slaughter, and yet your loved ones were being slowly erased. Even teachers and lunch ladies overdosing overnight, then cremated without ceremony. Their faces soon existing only in memory. Those were the times those who lived through it would say years later, not knowing what it was they meant. Though it was never his drug of choice, he was barely 16 the first time he did heroin. One summer night at a skate park on the outskirts of town, he sat huddled among 3 other skater kids in the valley of a half-pipe, the candle flame still in the humid air as the spoon sizzled over it, Fugazi's waiting room running on a loop from a stereo in someone's Jansport. It's a kind of brutality we've asked them to be in. You know, when I was growing up, they needed a magic spell to touch each other. To put your arm over your friend, you had to say, no homo. You needed an abracadabra to do something so human. And any culture that forces boys to have a magic spell in order to feel comfortable enough to put their arm around each other is a culture that has denied their humanity. And yeah. And the thing that was interesting was that, meanwhile, I saw them often in the skate park, right? You can only throw yourself off a half pipe for so long before you just sit and talk and chain smoke, right? And I saw them in moments of like deep, wounded vulnerability that their parents they will never show that to their parents, and they will never show that to a girl. And because I was queer, I was looking at them closer, perhaps than they thought I was. And I saw a side of them that I think was heartbreaking because they had to keep living up to this fantasy that the culture wanted them to live. And so skating became this rebellion to destroy. You know, I still haven't figured it out, but there's something about breaking your skateboard, you know, and then there's always the skateboard cracks, which means it's defunct, but then there's something always happens after the skateboard breaks, is the kid will then finish the break by smacking it on everything around them, every metal hard thing around them. And there's a kind of like terrifying catharsis that comes out of that, where everyone stops and they watch that happen because they all know that it's much more than skating. It's this cry, this inability to live up to this demand. And you know, research has now finally started to confirm that men and boys who have to live, the more they live up to masculine standards, the more mental health problems they have.
I want to talk about the music in this book, because for me, as I was reading it, there was like this definite soundtrack, and it lent this sort of grittiness to the entire story. So I'm curious, like in this section, you mentioned Fugazi's waiting room, which is like, it just reminds me of being like 20. Did you listen to a lot of this music as you were writing the book?
Yeah. Well, music is so interesting because it's a temporal sort of marker of time, and although music carries through space, it becomes almost like a curation of an era. And it was also the soundtrack here, including American football, Slipknot, so many others, Drowning Pool.
Rage Against the Machine.
Rage Against the Machine, it's so good. That specific music was skater music, which is, you know, I was, believe it or not, a skater kid. And like a pretty serious one, you know. I went down the half pipe and up the half pipe. But more specifically, I think the skater kids and the skater culture really opened me up to artistic possibilities, because we were all weirdos. It was kind of like unspoken that everyone here has been rejected by something else. And it goes, they're all doing what the definition of insanity is, right? It's like, if you do the same thing over and over with the same result, you're crazy. But in retrospect, it was probably the best training for me to be a writer, which is, there was no competition. There's more competition in writing than it was in skating culture. You all are sneaking into this plaza to do a sixth there, and there's that one kid who's really good, so we're all kind of like trying to film him to get a sponsorship deal at the local skate shop, right? And it's kind of that thing where like, if one of us is free, we'll all be free. We'll all get free t-shirts. And then you watch your friend just throw himself down a stairwell for 3 hours. And then you do it, and then there's something so miraculous. I swear, I haven't captured it in my work yet. But when you hear someone land the trick, that clean clap on the pavement, and no matter what you're doing, you could be staring into space. When you hear that, everyone wakes, and then they run over to the person who landed the trick in pure ecstasy, because achievement was never part of the project. It was the exception. Landing a trick was the miraculous exception. And there's very few sort of mediums in our culture where achievement is so rare as to almost seem miraculous, right? And so we would all fling our boards and rush to the kid who landed the trick and lift them up and shout in our cracking teenage voices. And I just think, to me, that's what drafting is just throwing yourself down the stairwell.
Those are all the books that I've recently purchased, and I just kind of wanted to chat about a book that I've been reading in the background of quite a few videos. Again, I'm such a slow nonfiction reader. Sometimes I sit down and I just want to like crush through a nonfiction just so I can get it done, so I can move on to the next. When I'm in those like, I need to clean up my reading list mindsets, that's when I'll crush through one. But this has been my little bit of a nonfiction read. And I do like 20 pages a day when I get through this. I'm currently on page 120, and it's called Underland by Robert McFarlane. And I wanted to just say that I'm enjoying what this is intending to do. But there is a scatterbrained and disjointed feel to how this book is written that I think is what's slowing me down, because I'm enjoying this thought that the world, what the world is built on, what we don't see, how connected the earth is where our eyes don't see it. I think that is so beautiful as a concept and so interesting as a concept. The cave system, the root systems, what's underwater. There's so much that we don't see of the earth, and we only have this tiny little view of the places that we live, but there's so much beneath that we will never, ever get to. I think that's so interesting. The writing of this is difficult to parse through, because he'll be talking about him exploring a cave system and then jump to talk about a different cave, and then jump to talk about a different cave, and then jump to give you a fact, and then jump back to him and his friend exploring the cave system. It's just a bit frantic, it feels. Again, I'm enjoying all these pieces that I'm getting, but since they're thrown at me almost like fun facts and party tales, like we're all sat at a party talking and everybody's just telling stories. That's kind of what it feels like. I don't feel like I'm holding on to much because of that. I think I'm enjoying it. I don't know. This is the first time I've read a nonfiction that wasn't almost like so intentional with its timing and spacing. This one is a bit more difficult. So that's what I'm working through. But that's not what we're reading today. I put up a vote on my YouTube community page because I wanted just a silly, goofy, fun read. I just need something to just give me a jolly good time. And you guys chose Take a Hint, Danny Brown. Now, I read, what was it? Get a Life, Chloe Brown. Obsessed. It was such a silly, goofy time, and I think this will do everything that I need it to. So we're gonna do that. I'm gonna finish my coffee. We're gonna sit down for a second, and then by the time I get through about, I think halfway through, I'm going to need to be a mother and take the pup out, and we're gonna run around the lake. But let's sit down, finish our coffee, and get through a bit of this. Listen to what I'm saying right now. Oh my googly moogly. Okay. So you have Danica, right? Danica is the middle child of the Brown sisters. Chloe was the first book. Danica is this middle book. Eve is the youngest sister. Danica is a PhD student, but she also teaches a couple of classes. She's working on dissertations, she's writing essays. She's in the thick of it, right? Now, one of the classes she teaches is in this rundown building, and there is a grumpy security guard at the front. But let me tell you about this security guard. He's an ex-rugby player. Yeah, that's right. Thicker than a snicker. Thicker than a bowl of oatmeal in the middle of winter. Thick. I'm talking thighs. What is I think it's a quote. It's an important quote, I think, in the Constitution. Give me a big boy. I want a big boy. Yeah, that's by Senator Sousa. Now back to the matter at hand. So there was this moment I literally laughed out loud where Danica is like, they have a good little sarcastic, dry banter. That is my favorite kind of banter. I eat it up. Any book that has that sort of pick at you banter, it's me, because that's why I like it so much. I have a friend that read a book, I can't remember what it was for the life of me. I'm not even going to put it on the screen because I'm not going to remember. That I enjoyed because of the dry, sarcastic banter, and she hated it because she was like, they're just being mean to each other. No, this is flirting. So that's kind of their banter, whatever. She's talking to him, they're catching up, and when she walks in, he is listening to an audiobook, a romance audiobook that is getting into the heat of the moment. So he sees her coming in, he takes out his headphones, puts it in his pocket, whatever. Now they have this little thing where she doesn't really eat breakfast, she's always in a rush, she's always late, so he gives her protein bars. He reaches into his pocket to grab a protein bar. Wrong pocket though. He accidentally reaches in, presses his phone, And then through these speakers of the phone, the spice of that audiobook is playing. And he's like frantically trying to like turn it off. When I tell you, that is my worst nightmare. Because sometimes what's going on in my headphones is disgusting. So he's like, and he like turns it off. And she's like, are you listening to porn? It's still a goofy time. But anyways, later that day, they have a drill, a security drill, and Danica gets stuck in the elevator. She tries to open it. She hurts her hand. She hurts her wrist. But our security guy, Zaf, he comes and finds her and he rescues her from the elevator. And he carries her out bride style, right? And she's a big girl. And he does it effortlessly, scoops her up because that's not rugby strength. But when he brings her out, the college students get a hold of that and put that video on Twitter, I think it was, and it's trending. And they put it up as like Dr. Rugby. Now, what does this do? Zaf is running a nonprofit, right? And him being in the limelight actually brings attention to his nonprofit. So he's sitting. Everybody's gassing up this tag. They love seeing him. It's pulling him out of his shell because he's actually dealing with a lot of grief. He lost some family members in a car accident years ago. And that's actually why he stopped playing rugby. He had really bad anxiety. He had really bad depression. And he left rugby. And that's how he actually started this nonprofit, teaching boys to be more in touch with their emotions, teaching them that they don't need to have this toxic masculinity. That's what his nonprofit is all about. But he's been kind of shy about like putting his past out there because he sees what him leaving as a failure. Check 2. We have a fake dating situation. When done well, fake dating is one of my favorites. It's one of my favorites. I don't care. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how unrealistic. I eat it up. Now, these two have their like little bit of a banter, and there is tension. There are lusty glances, but let's talk about Danica, right? Danica, she's had some relationship trauma. She got cheated on. She's felt worthless. She's felt like she isn't the person to date. So she just does casual. That's it. And she had recently prayed to her altar to have the best friends with benefits situation that could come her way. That was the day before the elevator. So when old Zaf, our security guy, rescued her, she was like, he's answering my prayers. This is obviously the man that I need to be hooking up with. This is it. This is my answers. This is my friends with benefits. This is that casual situation I prayed for, right? So she's on demon time. Now, don't get me wrong. Zaf is a lover boy. He's listening to these romance books. He believes in happily ever afters. But that man wants to break off a piece of our girl, Danica. She just out here looking chocolate, and he wants to break off a piece of that. He does. I'm at page 196. There's a few things that have happened. They've gone on a radio show, and what made that so cute? Let me tell you something that I eat up. Let a man remember little things about me, right? So they go on this radio show to promote his nonprofit, and they're like, let's play a little dating game. We're going to ask you questions. You're going to see if, like, you know anything about them. And it's little questions like, how does she take her tea? What is she even majoring in? What are his favorite chips? And they get all the questions, right? And they're just sitting there like, I mean, you're my friend. Of course I know these questions. Let me tell you right now, as somebody who is out here slaving their way through the dating game, giving up, no, people don't remember these things about you. And that little moment, ate it up. I'm eating it up. I'm kicking my feet. I'm at a page 196. and nobody's gotten naked yet. We've had a few kisses, we've had a few moments, we've had a few lusty glances, we've had a few dirty jokes. There was a scene where they're in the library. They meet up for lunch in order to get pictures for the tag, right? And she's in the library. She accidentally fell asleep. She missed their lunch. And he wasn't mad about it. He was like, you're working hard. Like, I'm just going to bring you some snacks. She made a dirty joke. And you know what this man did? Grabbed her chair and dragged her forward. Excuse me? Excuse me? Cut the cameras. Let's go to the hideaway. So there's a lot of moments like that where it's just like teetering on the edge of let me get you in a dark corner. Let me get you in a public restroom. I don't care. So there's a lot of that, but not quite any. No privates have been touched yet. But I'm not mad at it. There are some romances where I'm just like, what are we doing here? Get naked already? I'm loving the flirting. I'm loving the getting to know each other. I'm loving the awkwardness. I'm loving Zaf. My little romance reading teddy bear with the grumpy face. And he's always making these little comments like, oh, I'm going to have to murder that person. Like, I am eating him up. I need to calm down, first off. And we're going to take the dog out right quick. He needs to stretch his legs. He needs to spend some time outdoors. It's hot. It's getting hot. But we're still going to make a little bit of a loop. We're not going to go long because neither of us can handle that heat. And then I need to run to the nail salon because I chipped a nail yesterday. And if you chip a nail in the first 10 days, they fix it for free. So I'm going to go fix the chip on my nail. And then I need to run to Whole Foods for literally 2 things. I don't shop at Whole Foods regularly. I am not a bajillionaire under any circumstances. But there's 2 things that I usually get from Whole Foods, and I just love their tea section. Do I have the funds to buy a $15 box of tea? Absolutely not. Am I going to take a look-see? Absolutely. I love taking a look-see in Whole Foods. I have no business being in there. I shop at H-E-B and Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's is a treat. I'm not a Whole Food shopper. But there's 2 things that are easier to grab there because sometimes they're not in stock at H-E-B. So I just go to Whole Foods for it. And again, a little bit of a look-see. Once we get all that done, I'll be back and we'll finish this afternoon. Hey. I ran those errands so quickly, got home, put my sweatsuit on, hunkered down. Talia Hibbert, the writer that you are. Yeah, she's a professional. Ooh, is this our modern Shakespeare? Okay, we need to talk about it. We need to talk about it. We need to talk about it. People got naked. They sure did. People got naked. And Zaf came in there and did what he do. He did what he do. He came in here on a mission. He came in here focused on female pleasure. You know what this man is? You know this man? A feminist. This man is a feminist. Putting together a luncheon for women's rights. Yeah. My man. I love him. He's such a little teddy bear. Now, okay, same thing that I would say for Get a Life, Chloe Brown. The third act breakup being 3 pages is weird to me. I don't see the point of Talia Hibbert's third act breakups because they literally come in the last 30 pages of the book. It's only going to be 3 pages. Why you gotta do my people like that? We don't need it. It feels very unnecessary. But with these ones, since we're dealing with anxiety and thoughts of self-worth, it does feel like we shouldn't have just smooth sailing in a relationship, whatever, I guess. And I do see kind of where this one would come from. But it was the same in the first, where it was like, maybe this just won't work out. Let's never talk. Like, it comes out of nowhere. It's a flip switched. Everybody parts ways. They have a horrible time. And then 48 hours later, it's like, no. I have undying love for you. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. But again, it's only 3 pages of me going, what the heck? Why are we doing this? And 3 pages in a 380-page book. That's not much for me to be so upset with. And you literally couldn't do a thing to ruin my Zaf fandom. Oh, he is just such a sweet baby. He is tenderoni. I love this. This is exactly like, thank you guys. Oh my gosh, thank you guys. This is the exact sort of like silly goofy that I needed. I also did a little bit of Googling, okay? Those of you who told me before I let go was the option, Google is telling me that's not silly goofy. So I just want to know if we're fighting. Like, I just really got to know if you're mad at me. I will be reading it another time, but in the need for silly goofy, I'm really happy that this won the vote because this is exactly what I needed. A little light, a little fun, a little flirty, a little fresh, a little honey. This is a good time. Third act breakups don't really make sense. The banter was pretty good for me. The friendship elements of this I love. I love that it didn't feel like insta-lust because they did have a friendship going and then it just kind of went into crush and then people were breaking down the hatches. Love that. I loved how this transitioned. I love the happy ending that I got from this. I loved seeing supportive friendship and the elements around that lust. Him going to see her on the panel and supporting her as somebody who's very passionate about their work and what they do. Him being just as passionate. Also, can I just say, there's a thing that was brought up in here where Danica said that when he talks about rugby and his little nonprofit, he lights up. And I love that because there is something also for me where the person that I'm interested in, their passions are my passions. Seeing anybody talk about something they're passionate about and something they love gets my heart, just makes my heart so happy. Even when my friends do it. I love when somebody loves something. I could care less about rugby. But if you're passionate and seeing somebody light up I need to know every detail. And I loved how that was really brought up in here. Seeing those small moments of them not overtly saying I like you, but that I love what you love. I'm passionate about what you're passionate about. Yes, I'm eating it up. This was a good time. It was a good time. You don't get spice until a little bit past halfway. But when the spice was spicing, habanero. If you don't like excessive dirty talk, this was tasteful dirty talk. Chef's kiss. Thank you for hanging out with me today. Thank you for staying in my home. Thank you for running some errands with me. This was a good day. I needed a little easy day. And I'll talk to you next time.